car manufacturers love turning to nature and the animal kingdom for inspiration when it comes to naming their cars. You have the very dangerous Dodge Viper and the thoroughbred Ford Mustang, for instance. Or the very exotic Corvette Stingray. And both Alfa Romeo, Ferrari and Fiat have had a car called the Spider. Must be an Italian thing. But if there is any vehicle that can claim to be named after the most innocuous living creature, it is this one. Which other car after all could have portrayed the facetious Herbie in the 1969 movie The Love Bug? The original engine fitted in the Beetle produced only 25 horsepower, but this is a 1974 version with a souped-up engine producing a massive 34 horsepower. And that means that it can do 0 to 60. That's it. Nobody's ever measured how long it would take, but I'm fairly sure it can. As a matter of fact, the requirements for the car when it was designed were that it should be able to transport 2 adults and 3 children at 100 kilometers an hour, while not using more than 7 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. That's 39 miles per gallon, and that's fairly economical, even by today's standards. And the engine had to be air-cooled because antifreeze wasn't really a thing back in the 30s, and the water in traditionally cooled engines could freeze overnight if the car wasn't kept in the garage, preventing the town doctor from being able to travel to an emergency. And that wouldn't be very people-friendly, would it? But performance isn't the point anyway. The point of this car is that it was designed to bring freedom and autonomy to as many people as possible. Volkswagen, after all, means people's car. And over the years, it would make its way to a lot of regular folks' homes. But more on that later. Now, it is generally understood that the original concept of the Beetle was the work of Adolf Hitler and Ferdinand Porsche, which certainly makes for a compelling story. And it is true that the Nazi Party had a hand in bringing the car into production, but the workers at the brand new factory in Fallersleben had only built just over 200 Beetles when production had to be stopped because of the war. And eventually, the original idea and design for the Beetle was proven in court to date as far back as 1925. So, Beetle owners, you can be relieved. You're not really driving a Nazi car after all. It's only after the war that production really kicked in under British supervision. But before any more cars could be made, British engineers had to remove and disarm a bomb that had gone through the roof of the factory and lodged itself between several one-of-a-kind pieces of equipment. And if that bomb had detonated, the Beetle would never have gone into production and automotive history would be very different. What else would have legions of hippies driven to Woodstock then? It is fortunate, therefore, that the explosive device was British-made and therefore completely unreliable. Over the years, the popularity of the car grew considerably, mostly because it was far superior to its competitors like the Morris Minor and the Citroën 2CV. But also, let's not kid ourselves, because it is absolutely adorable. I mean, look at this thing. This one is even wearing a New York taxi costume. As time passed, the competition started to catch up, and the Beetle, despite being regularly updated, started to fall victim to its pre-war design. A reviewer in 1959 wrote that the car had tolerable road handling, and the air-cooled engine started becoming a problem throughout the 60s as new regulations were introduced. Throughout the 1970s, sales started to plummet until one fateful night in July 2003, where the last Beetle, nicknamed El Rey, rolled off the assembly line in Puebla, Mexico. You can go and see it at the Volkswagen Museum in Wolfsburg, Germany. By the end of its run, the Beetle would stand at number 4 on the list of most ever sold cars, with a staggering 23.5 million units sold. Not too shabby for a humble little bug. Now, before I have to give this lovely little car back to her rightful owner, I have to say a few words about the name. Throughout this film, I kept referring to this car as the Beetle, but its real name is the Volkswagen Type 1, or Type 1, I guess. And I don't know of any other car that is only referred to by its nickname. Let me know if you do. One thing is for sure, wherever in the world you are, people will have a nickname for the Beetle. In Germany, it's the Käfer. In Malaysia, it's either the frog or the turtle. And in South America, it's the cucaracha. In my home country of France, we call it la coccinelle, which means the ladybug. Cute, n'est-il pas? As for the Danish, well, they call it the Hitlersleden, the Hitlersled. Oh well, you might as well just roll with it.
Hitler has only got one ball. Goring has two but very small. Himmler is rather similar, but poor old Goebbels has no balls at all.
Hitler has only got one ball, the other is in the Albert Hall. His mother, that dirty grubber, cut it off when he was small. She threw it into the concord tree. He fell into the deep blue sea. The fishes cut out their dishes and had scallops and bollocks for tea.